had hit it up so much. I saw you and Miss Giselle had a space on it, and I saw Marcel had a recap. So I was like, well, y'all touched up on it. Ain't really nothing for me to actually speak up on because I know y'all had some long spaces going on as well too. Shout out to my people that's over there on YouTube, guys. We're gonna be talking about Killer Mike tonight, getting everybody to run to the polls, as he says, and we'll also be talking about the Kenyan government trying to secure billions of dollars from Black Americans through tourism. So that's going to be the topics right now. I was just really quick having a catch up with FBA Goddess. She was talking about the situation that went down in South Carolina on MLK Day. You had the actual, they had their reparation signs up and they were told to actually leave because whatever reason, the NAACP had a problem with it. So, it is what it is. We know MLK was an actual reparationist himself, so I'm sure he wouldn't have been too thrilled with the situation of having his people actually leave up out the spot for something that he himself supported. But just crazy.
What's crazy is they had him on the speakers. They were playing him on the speakers, and on the sign it specifically said, "We are coming in this campaign. We're coming to get our check." MLK. It was playing the same thing on the speakers, but it was on our sign, and they put us out. How stupid is that?
Yeah, they've been saying everything that's been going on online, and they felt that y'all were gonna perhaps ask some tough questions of people and stuff like that. So they didn't even want to deal with it. So at least now you know exactly what it is and stuff. The same people that kicked y'all out in a few months will be sitting up here trying to get you to vote Democrat. So that's the crazy thing about it.
They ain't got to worry about that at all.
Shout out to my people. What's up, Extreme X? I see you over there in YouTube. For all my people coming in YouTube, guys, definitely go ahead and click that notification bell because y'all already know YouTube is not sending out any notifications whatsoever. Click the notification bell. Also, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you visit newstoter.com to stay up to date on breaking Black news in Black America today. We had a really, really nice yesterday we had a nice space/podcast. We spoke about Jabal Bowman and the reparations that he claims to be backing, co-sponsoring resolutions or bills or whatever you want to call it. Trying to go ahead and talk about $14 trillion. We broke that down last night. It was a very, very good discussion. Shout out to everybody coming in the space as well too. Shout out to Fresh. I see Fresh up in here as well too. And tonight, guys, we're gonna be talking about the situation with Killer Mike. You guys know Killer Mike, definitely the rapper, always vocal about politics. A lot of y'all can remember Killer Mike during the heart of the actual pandemic when you had all of these riots breaking out, and he made this passionate plea for Black people in Atlanta to please stop what you was doing. Well, Killer Mike is back again, and he's telling y'all to run to the polls. He's telling the Georgia voters to go ahead and run to the polls. We also, like I said, we're going to touch up on this situation going on in Kenya. Now, I know a lot of people remember a few years ago, the year return in Ghana. Well, Kenya has something that they're promoting as well, too. And Kenya calls it the journey back to Eden. Since we know Kenya is on the on the east coast of Africa, the Horn of Africa, and of course we know people always say that the Garden of Eden was in that location, in that area somewhere over there. So they have what they call for Black people that they're going to be the government and Black people over in this country too, that they're trying to go ahead. They're trying to get about 3,000 to 5,000 Black people to come visit Kenya annually. They're trying to get people to come there. They're trying to get them to invest, to spend money there, to help build infrastructure as well too. They call it the journey back to Eden. I guess the Garden of Eden. That's short for us. So the journey back to Eden. They're trying to get Black Americans to come back there. Kenya is looking, of course, we know their currency is different in the United States. Their currency is a lot lower, but they're looking to make 300 trillion shillings from Black American tourism market. The 300 trillion shillings will add up to a little over $1 billion in U.S. currency. But I did the actual currency thing, the currency market, and it was about 1 something billion. So, that's a lot of bread. So they're trying to get us to come back there and visit. We want to discuss that tonight. FBA Goddess is up in the house as well. I see my boy Ray up in here too. Original, all you guys up in here. I want to hear what y'all think about it. I want to hear what y'all think about Killer Mike. I want to hear what you think about FBA Goddess. I don't know if you had any time tonight. Would you want co-host? Are you good? Are you straight as a speaker or what?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, let me go ahead and send you that invite. When you get that invite, accept it. Accept it, accept it. Yeah, so we're gonna touch up on that. I'm gonna start off with the Killer Mike, and then I'm gonna touch up on the actual situation with Kenya trying to get that bread. Kenya, you can't knock Kenya's hustle now. Kenya's like, hey, we saw what Ghana did on the west coast of Africa. I think we can equal that. So Killer Mike to Georgia voters run to the polls. This is from the Atlanta Voice. Grammy nominated rapper, Atlanta native, and business owner Killer Mike performed at halftime of this year's Atlanta Hawks MLK Day game. This wasn't Killer Mike's first time performing in front of a large crowd at a sporting event. The attendance for Monday's MLK Day game was over 17,000 people, and it wasn't the first time performing on MLK Day either for Killer Mike. It was, however, a unique opportunity for him to speak to a large audience of Georgia voters on the eve of the Iowa caucus. We saw how the Iowa caucus turned out. Trump, he pretty much waxed all of them with relative ease. On a hyper local level, it's very important that people stay engaged because hyper locally is where the change happens, Killer Mike said. During his performance, Killer Mike prefaced his hit single Run by saying, y'all better run to the polls this year. Afterwards, he used an example of the $40 million of federal funding that went towards Metro Atlanta trade schools and how important that was to educating thousands of people as a reason for focusing on local politics. When you look at the $40 million coming down the pipeline for trade schools a few years ago, Atlanta would have gotten skipped had it not been for Vincent Ford, he said. If Vincent Ford hadn't raised hell about it, we wouldn't have had trade schools blossoming on Metropolitan Avenue like we have now. The turnout for the recent local elections have been low in Georgia, particularly during non-presidential years. For example, there were just over 97,000 reported votes for the 2021 mayoral election. The subsequent runoff between Andrew Dickens and Felicia Moore, both well-known members of Atlanta City Council at the time, saw 78,643 voters cast ballots. For me, it's important on a hyper-local level, Killer Mike explained. I know it's sexy to be arguing about who's going to be the president, but it's sexy to know who you're going to be voting for judge, who your prosecutor is going to be, who your mayor is going to be, and who they're going to appoint as police chief. There are more than 7 million registered voters in Georgia, with more than 750,000 of them registered to vote within Fulton County. Get to know your city council person, said Killer Mike, who added that he recently spoke with Atlanta City Councilman Antonio Lewis. I want to see more young legislators. I want to see more young people in the city council. I want to see more progressive mayors like the one we currently have. Killer Mike, whose latest album, Michael, has been nominated for multiple Grammy Awards, wanted to further reiterate his points on the importance of voting and voter education. Whoever is going to be president is going to be a bigger argument, but hyper locally, you should care about who's going to be your mayor, who your state representatives are, and who your governor is going to be more than anything, he said. So that was Killer Mike letting you know exactly how he felt about things as well too. Like I say, Killer Mike is pretty vocal on the political scene. I know I see Extreme X says sometimes Killer Mike is full of it over there on YouTube. I saw a bunch of y'all when I posted this was saying that Killer Mike was just pretty much just mimicking what a lot of Democrats said and what a lot of Democrats feel, and that he's going to be wasn't Killer Mike a big supporter of Bernie Sanders at one time too? If I'm not mistaken, I know him and Bernie Sanders weren't they pretty close at one time on the election trail. Shout out to Minister Ali. I see her up in here as well too. But I believe that he was pretty tight with Bernie Sanders. I could be wrong. Now my man Original, he's from Georgia in the Atlanta area, so Original he stays up on it. I'm sure we'll hear from Original sometime tonight. But yeah, Killer Mike, when they was in Atlanta doing the whole uprising with the George Floyd thing, the boys was getting loose down there, and like Killer Mike, he got on the he was almost in tears, man, when he got up on the actual on the TV, and he was like, "Well, y'all please stop it. My father was a policeman here." So he was trying to, I guess, squash it, but those boys was really turned up down there. Killer Mike is he's starting early. He's campaigning. Extreme X say he campaigned for Bernie. I thought he campaigned for Bernie Sanders. To a certain degree, what he's saying is right. We do need to get more involved in local politics. Too often, too too oftentimes black people do sit out in the local politics and the local elections, and they turn out heavy in the presidential elections. So I agree with him on that. Now, whether we agree with the same candidates and everything like that, that's a whole nother story for another time. But he's right. You do have to, if you're going to be active in politics, don't just come out every 4 years in the presidential election. You do want to actually dictate what happens in your local election, in your state, your county, your city, all of that stuff there as well too. So we do need to show a little bit more, and that's one reason too that they take black people for granted doing these actual local elections, because they feel like, hey, they ain't gonna come out. They only come out every 4 years to actually vote for the primary election as well too. So shout out to everybody coming up in the space, guys. Make sure y'all go ahead and retweet the space out. FBA Goddess, do you want to say anything before I touch up on this Kenya situation? And Minister Ali, I know you up here as well too. If you want to speak, just raise your hand. We'll get to you. Any people in the listener section that want to speak and come on up here as well too, definitely do that. You good, FBA Goddess? Okay, FBA Goddess. I hope she's there.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I didn't know these spaces been acting really, really crazy lately. So just.
What did you say?
No, I said these spaces been acting up really crazy. So I was just checking to make sure you were still there. But on the Killer Mike situation, did you want to say something real quick before I touch up on this Kenyan article, or you want to wait till I touch up on that?
I'll wait because I want to hear that article, because I want to hear about that money.
Oh, okay. Well, no problem. Let me go ahead and touch up on it. This is article, all of the articles up in the Jumbotron, same for my people on YouTube. If you guys want to go to the actual articles on YouTube, go to the description. The links are in the actual description. Same for my people here on Twitter/X. It's up in the Jumbotron on the far right-hand side. You can click that and go. Click it and go. Even even though I'm gonna read the article, you can still go there, and that'll be your visit to Newstoter for the day too. So definitely do that. You can do that while we on the actual space visit. Oh yeah, I went to Newstoter for the day, so you got your visit from me. But yeah, Kenya targets 300 trillion shillings Black American tourism market. 300 trillion shillings. So you got to think about the actual level of their currency compared to the U.S. dollar. And like I said, when I went ahead and I put in a currency converter, and putting in a trillion here and all of that, I came out to like 1.8 billion that they're trying to make from the U.S. From the actual Black Americans visiting and investing. A plan that seeks to tap into the 300 trillion shillings of African American tourism market has been launched. The initiative, dubbed Call to Action, is an ingenious plan by Traverse Culture founder, Chief Executive Kia Simmons from Charleston, South Carolina, United States. The plan seeks to reconnect African Americans with their African culture heritage through various naming ceremonies and cultural adoption. It targets to bring 3,000 to 5,000 visitors in 2024 to Kenya, invest and settle in a new city dubbed Get to Freedom Estate in Tikia. I'm sorry about the words, Cumbia County, under the guidance of is titled Journey Back to Eden. The estate, located 60 kilometers north of Nairobi, will offer modern African living experience of African Americans, returnees, and Kenyans. I was going to say, Goddess, if you see anybody trying to come up and speak, you go ahead and prove them and let them come on up here too. The group that seeks...
Give me a hard time, so I'm trying. If y'all just give us time to get you up here, because the thing is acting retarded, as you know.
I want to thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt anybody, but I want to thank you yesterday for your piece on the moment and the reparations. That's very important to know what is his agenda.
Hey, Window, no problem. I'm gonna get back to you, but let me finish touching up on this article, and then you can. Go ahead. Okay. The estate, located 60 kilometers north of Nairobi, will offer modern African living experience for African American returnees and Kenyans. So it's also for African American returnees and Kenyans. The group that seeks to entice the African American population back in the U.S. over the ancestry link dating back 700 years ago plans to complete the Thika City project in the next 5 years. Investors will have access to various modern amenities like schools, hospitals, and shopping malls. Speaking during a tour of the Mombasa Old Town by a group of African Americans, Simmons said the trip is enacted has acted as an eye opener for many visitors who plan to invest in various sectors of the Kenyan economy, like the real estate and hospitality industries. The call to action is, excuse me, the call to action is going to revolutionize the Kenyan tourism and travel market. We should work with both the public and private sectors to realize the dream of bringing to Kenya 3,000 visitors in 2024, says Simmons. Simmons was accompanied by other American tourists and investors, Michael Wright, Troy Batiste, Takia Lacola, among others, who expressed their interest in investing in the country. Wright said he was interested in extending his manufacturing and export and import business into Kenya, citing a good investment climate and hospitable people. I'm visiting Kenya for the second time, and I'm planning to extend my business to this country because of the ease of doing business, he said. During a 12-day visit to Kenya, the group toured various tourism culture spots like Old Town Mombasa, Nairobi National Park. Traverse Culture also organized a call to action conference and the Noor Fashion Week at the Holiday Inn Hotel at Two Rivers in Nairobi, where African themed designs were on display from Kenya and the U.S. diaspora. The call to action is part of a major plan to reach out to the middle class African American market by the Kenyan government. So the Kenyan government is trying to target middle class Black people in this country to help with the investment and to get people to come there to visit, to travel, spend money, to build infrastructure, and create trade and everything else as well. According to the U.S. official statistics, the Black community in the U.S. has a population of more than 40 million people, representing about 13% of the total U.S. population of 333 million people. According to research conducted by Wells Fargo, and I don't know about this research, this sounds a little shaky to me. It says the average net worth of Black households jumped more than 340,000. And I guess they're talking about in terms of the actual Kenyan currency in 2023, making an increase of more than 32% compared to 2022. So I think they're talking about in terms of the Kenyan currency, that the actual Black households in terms of our money here jumped 340,000 compared to their money over there. The Kenyan government, through the North American Trade and Tourism Plan, is targeting to increase the number of Americans visiting Kenya to more than 1 million by the year 2027. So they're aiming to get 1 million people there within the next 3 years. Obviously, they're going to need to get more than 3,000 to 5,000 people a year to reach that number. In 2022, more than 200,000 Americans visited Kenya. Out of the 1.4 million tourists who toured the nation, this represented 16% of all visitors to Kenya in 2022. Simmons, who has been in Kenya for the last 12 years, called for more state incentives to help drive the plan of tripling the number of African Americans visiting Kenya by 2027. We need the government to partner with us in deepening the journey back to Eden. Got a nice little catchy name, the journey back to Eden, which seeks to market Kenya as a ripe trade and tourism market for the Black community in the United States. She observed, Traverse Culture is the premier tourist culture travel company in the U.S., helping Black community to visit and settle in Africa with more focus on East Africa. So shout out, Wendell. Go ahead. I was reading, but you can go ahead.
Yes, I want to thank you. Yesterday you did a great job with the piece on the reparations. I just wanted to reiterate, when Killer Mike is saying go to the polls, he obviously says that the presidential election is sexy, but the local is important. I agree with that also. But getting back to the presidential piece, though, we must emphasize that if Biden and Harris don't have on their agenda, on their platform to give immediate reparations, he can do it through an executive order, because there's a national emergency crisis with the Black American community, economically, socially, health-wise. They need to cut the check. All the research has been done on the amount. And of course, as yesterday, continuation of our discussion, it should be for Black freedmen, lineage-based, okay? And I can trace mine to 1844. My ancestor was A.N.C. Williams. He's my great-great-grandfather. So I'm saying, yeah, I want to run out the vote, but I want for Biden and Harris to have on their platform about immediate reparations within the first 30 days that he's in office if he's elected. Because if he's not going to do that, what am I voting for? Climate change? So, I mean, the relevance is for us to be paid for our ancestors, all the work that they've done. They've died, and they've worked for free. So that's the bottom line that Killer Mike needs to reinforce at the executive level. At the local level, as I discussed yesterday, the checks for the local level should be $750,000 from Franklin, Tennessee, which is where my ancestor A.N.C. Williams is from. And from the state level in Tennessee, it should be $3.5 million. I got a total of the figures from economists should be $7.4 million for each descendant of formerly enslaved African Americans lineage base. So that's the only thing that's really relevant to African Americans as far as I'm concerned, plus the additional issue of health care, continued health care. And as you know, in 3121, that they did the 2 years of their study, they came up with continued reparations for the crime bill, for the blacks who are incarcerated, the health care, for housing discrimination. So it's actually 2 or 3 parts to it. So anyway, thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Let me ask you one quick question, Wendell, before you go. What's your thoughts on that article I just read about the Kenyan government looking to get, in particular, the black middle class to come over to Kenya to invest in with tourism and infrastructure and everything else as well too. They're looking to make 300 trillion shillings in their currency, which would equate to about 1 point something billion dollars over here, about 1.8 billion. So what's your opinion on that right there? Of course, you do have an American company that seems to have, that's trying to partner and get Black Americans to go over there as well too. So what do you think about that?
I'm part of I agree with W.E.B. Du Bois. As you know, that Du Bois left. My father wrote up as an attachment. My father interviewed W. Du Bois at Columbia and wrote his master's research thesis. And you know, Du Bois went to Ghana because Du Bois and Ghana and others, they realized that Africa ultimately is where returning to the motherland should be part of our journey. Can you hear me okay? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, yeah. So what I'm saying is that we spend $1.6 trillion, African Americans do, according to one study. I believe that it's correct for us to be a part of Africa. I agree with that in terms of owning land, but also we should be owning electric car companies. We should be owning other businesses in Africa. So it's not just returning to sit in the sun, be on the beach and be tourists and walk around and take pictures. No, returning to Africa should be about joining our brothers and sisters and empowering ourselves economically. Okay, and also as that relates to, as you know, those 3 countries in Burkina Faso and Mali and the other ones in which they've taken over and they've kicked the French out. It's all about controlling the resources. So I agree, not just Kenya, but I think that African Americans have a role to play in the development of Africa. And so I'm agreeing with it, but it should be part of empowering economically and socially, because as you know, that's the motherland. And so that should be part of it, but it should not be as tourists, not taking pictures and going to see museums. No, we don't need that. We need to empower the Africans, our ancestors, in order to make Africa what it should be, which is it should be the world currency. The currency of the world should be coming out of African currency. So it's not just for tourism to visit, but it should be about empowering Africa, because as you know, there's 1.7 billion people. They have one of the largest growths of young people. 15 to 25? The growth is in Africa. That's where the young people are. And so there's a lot of potential there. Just like Marcus Garvey, there's a Marcus Garvey connection to Africa. There's a W.E.B. Du Bois connection. There's a Malcolm X connection. So we owe it to our ancestors to be a part of Africa's growth. So I agree, yes, but not as tourists.
Okay, because the article, and they want you to come over there and spend money on tourism. But they're also building this city that they think will be completed in 5 years, and they're looking for people to actually invest and settle into that city as well too. So they're looking at it from it as a tourism standpoint, but they're also looking for Black Americans to come over there and to from what I'm gathering, to help build infrastructure and everything else as well to bring your money along and go ahead and build infrastructure there as well too.
But the point to the infrastructure, sir, with all due respect, as a result of the 600 years of genocide and colonialism, the European NATO countries should be responsible for, as reparations, to be rebuilding those infrastructure, because they helped to enslave us and to kill us and brutalize us. So the bill on infrastructure should be paid for by NATO and the United States.
Okay, well, let me ask you this question right here, because like I said, of course, at this point in time, they want Black people to come over there. They want you to spend that. They're looking, from what I'm seeing, from what the article says, they're looking to generate trillions of dollars in their economy, which will be a billion or so, over a billion or so here, U.S. dollars, or close to $2 billion. So, the point about us coming over there, and I understand that they're trying to build themselves up and get the country top flight. But often, so many times, it seems like when and I get what you're saying, that these other countries that colonize Africa, that they should pay for this and pay for that or whatever. But
yes.
oftentimes, you would think that they would say, you know what, come over here with whatever you got. We're going to go ahead and we're going to give you free land, and we're going to allow you to build and this and that or whatever, and we can partner with each other.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be more productive in your opinion?
I agree, because as you know, the government can actually privatize, just like, with all due respect, Gaddafi privatized the oil industry. And as you know, Gaddafi, one of the reasons why he was killed is that he wanted to create a currency. Okay. And so, and also he had the gold. So the bottom line is that if African countries can control their resources, the diamond, the gold, the lithium, the cobalt, that's what it's all about. If you don't control those resources, if those resources are controlled by European countries, then you're being pimped, you're being colonized, you're on a plantation. So I understand what you're saying, that you're partnering, but the bottom line is that who's controlling the resources, like in South Africa, De Beers and all the others. South Africa is, blacks can vote, but the resources are still controlled by settler colonialism. So how do you deal with settler colonialism? You have to nationalize the resources. You pay them. That's what Gaddafi did. Gaddafi cut a check and he paid the Europeans for drilling the oil. And then he basically said, you all work for me. You're contractors. So you have to control the oil. You have to control the diamonds, the cobalt, the titanium, the uranium. Those have to be nationalized. And I'm not necessarily promoting socialism, but if you don't control your resources, you don't control anything. Okay, you're just a colony.
All right, appreciate that. Let me go ahead and get to FBA Goddess. Did you want to say something before we got to the speakers real quick? Some of the other speakers, or are you good for right now?
Yeah, no, I did want to say something. I don't agree. I don't agree that Black Americans should go over there and spend our money, period, to help build up I think they need to build up their own infrastructure. They need to build up everything on their own. I mean, we're over here doing things on our own. So they should do the same thing. I mean, same way. They should be able to do that too. I don't think that we should be spending that much money when we can be spending that over here with amongst us, building our own stuff that we need to build for us. So I'm not agreeing with all that money. No. Nope.
No, I'm not saying a large portion. We should be visiting but partnering. I'm agreeing with partnering. But as far as I'm concerned, do you remember when Malcolm X was talking about 5 states, in terms of Mississippi, Alabama, whatever? I believe that African Americans need to, I'm agreeing with you though, we need to control a state, whether it's Mississippi, because you can flip that with 39%. And I'm agreeing with you. Our primary emphasis should be on the United States, because this is what we built up. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying, if you're going to visit Africa, you should be partnering with them, and they should be utilizing their resources. But I'm saying, don't go as a tourist necessarily all the time, because there's a lot of the motherland is there. But I'm saying to go back to what Malcolm X is talking about, in which they want to take 5 states. Just imagine if they are focused on, for example, Mississippi. Mississippi has 39% black. It only takes about 200,000 people to flip Mississippi. It has the Mississippi River. It's got 6 HBCUs. So what I'm saying, I'm agreeing with you. The primary emphasis should be on building the United States. I agree with you. But pick a state, and the best state right now is Mississippi, because you can flip it. You can't flip Texas. Texas is Hispanic at 39%. You can't flip California. You can't flip Michigan, because Michigan's got what? 19-20% African American. So the point, I'm agreeing with you, the primary emphasis should be on building an American state empire in the United States. I'm agreeing with you, sister.
All right. Let me go ahead and get to the Black Vanguard, then I'm gonna get to original, and I'm gonna get the Black majority state as well too.
Yeah, this Ghana thing is nothing but a scam too, because they try to do the same Kenya scam like they did in Ghana. Like FBA Ghana says, that they need to build up their own country where they come from, Like all that money, if we decide to go to spend that, none of that money they ain't gonna reinvest none of that money back in our community. Though, see, yet again, that one side Pan-Africanism stuff. If we tired of that one side Pan-Africanism stuff, that stuff only benefit them, but that shit don't benefit us. So my bad. Sorry about that. For saying that. Sorry about that. I apologize for that. But yeah, I would say we don't need to spend our money with them Africans though too, because it's not reciprocal. You got all types of African and Caribbean organizations here in America, especially Kenyan organizations, especially in New York City. The Kenyan organization in New York City don't reach out to Black Americans. They got a Kenyan enclaves in New York City and Minnesota. The Kenyan community don't reach out to Black Americans though. So the Kenyans ain't no different than the Nigerians or the Somalis though. They one and the same. So I'm glad our people don't fall for this Ghana scam this Kenya scam like in the Ghana. I've been out there with Kenya. There's a lot of poverty out there in Kenya. Kenya has about 70% poverty rate. Over 70% of their population over here in Kenya make less than $5.50 a day. So they got astronomical poverty over here. So what they gonna do with all that money that if we decide to support the economy, all that money ain't gonna go towards people over here. That money's gonna go towards the elite people in their countries though. And none of that money gonna go and circulate in their community. Like Ghana has about a 60-70% poverty rate over here. So I would say we need to focus on home first, though, before we focus on anybody else. Though we done with this Pan-Africanism stuff because it's been one-sided the last 100 years. So that's all I gotta say for them.
All right, appreciate
You're
it.
all right about that, and I say that too because when we spend our dollars with them, they don't spend their dollars with us. So when I go get my hair braided with them, that money is not going back into our Black neighborhoods. That money is going wherever they say they're sending it to, and it ain't to us.
All right, thank you.
And you're right about that because they got their own little enclaves where they circulate their money with their own little enclaves, so they don't put that circulating money none of the Black American communities. You 100% right here, BA Goggles.
All right, let me go ahead and get to original, and then I'll get the Black majority. Minister Ali, I see you up here. If you want to speak, definitely go ahead and just raise your hand. I'll get to you as well. To anybody that wants to speak, come on up here and speak. We're talking about Killer Mike run to the polls, and we're talking about the Kenyan government trying to get Black investment dollars and tourism dollars over there into the country, trying to help create infrastructure as well. They're talking about building a city, and they're trying to see if they can get Black folks also to invest in that city as well. They're saying the city be completed in 5 years. Looking to they're looking to make about close to $2 billion off the Black Americans here in this country, trying to definitely target the middle class. So we're just talking about that. Anybody wants to speak, feel free to come on up here and speak as well too. Original, how you doing tonight? Go ahead and unmute your mic. If everybody in the space, guys, make sure you go out there and retweet the space out, please. Retweet the space.
Reading peace, Black power, and lineage-based reparations. You know, and okay, you're speaking of Killer Mike, and my issue with Killer Mike is a Democratic shield. He's an operative, okay? I find it ironic, and so you're going to find people like him. Eventually you're going to hear them say, elections have consequences. See, they say that, Black people don't come out in these elections, but exactly what are they doing to ensure Black people to want to come out in these elections? They're not. They only follow what the elected officials tell them to do, and they never come out and do anything that's going to be in the best interest of Black folks. So you're going to see them, because see, why are we voting for these people and they can't even align themselves with us, regarding lineage-based reparation?
Yes.
So I'm looking at it like, and it's like I tagged him into the message I responded to let him know that the endorsement of high-profile Black people trying to encourage Black people to come out and vote is dead. We no longer listen to these people because, see, they don't have our best interest at heart. And don't forget, last year Killer Mike went to the Atlanta City Council, because you all saw that where I think it was the Black Authority or Progressive Black Truth. One of them, they had a space on it, whereby see here a lot of these nightclubs, and I do believe some of this stuff was orchestrated, whereby they was using they was going to enact a law to close down some of these nightclubs, so because they claimed that they was violent. But see, there's a mall out here. It's called Lenox Square. It's supposed to be some kind of little foo-foo uppity mall, but it ain't nothing but another little shopping center to me. But anyway, that mall, they've had numerous shootings, and 1 year they had about maybe 6 or 7 shootings within 6 months. But they never asked them to close down. They never did. But they was gonna see, and then Killer Mike and some of these other black businesses, they went to City Hall, and then City Hall changed their mind. He told them, he said, you come to us during the election, you want us to go out and motivate people to vote. And see, that's what he's doing now. See, he's laying the groundwork, because they coming, and they are going to be coming strong. They want us to come out and vote, but they don't want us to obtain anything for our vote. Remember, I shared with this space the current mayor, Andre Dickens. When he ran for mayor, his platform, his diversity and inclusion platform, he only had up there what he was going to do for the gay community. Nothing for black folks. You see, they always think that we're just supposed to come out and vote, but yet when we make demand, they look at us like, "Oh, what's wrong with you? Y'all know y'all don't get nothing. Just come out here and vote, because we got to get these people. We got to get these people elected." No, but what are they going to do for us? This is what we want, and they can't even come together with us. And they know. It's not like they don't know that lineage-based reparation cannot be done on the auspices of race. It has to be done on lineage. And if they're not willing to understand that, they need to go somewhere and sit down. So, and also, it was several years ago. This was like back maybe between 2013 and 15, or somewhere around there. I say 2010 to 15. Killer Mike was a fill-in host on this local radio show, and Killer Mike said that every black person needs one good white friend. Come on. So, like, and see, you have a lot of sick black folks who believe that, because white people can get access that you can't get. Really? Why are we looking towards our enemy for access anyway? And so you have to look at this from a standpoint of Killer Mike. He's being used as an op to convince black people to come back and vote for the Democrat, and knowing that the Democrats haven't promised us anything, they're not going to do anything for us. All they want is our vote. And so he should be chastised for that. Because I'm not going to sit up here and just give up my vote. And then every demographic out here, they are getting what they need, and we sitting up here, and we sitting up here with nothing. We can't. And see, and that chimes into the Kenyan issue. You see, now I find it ironic that everybody's coming after black folks. Everybody's coming after black folks, and I don't see them going to Fiji, getting the Fijians to come out. I don't see them going to Tahiti, getting those people to come out. They are coming to black Americans. They know that black American, we are, I think, maybe the richest black people on the planet.
We are the richest black people on the planet.
That's right. But so they are coming to us. They're not going to anyone else. And so And so my position is that if you're not going to, if you're not gonna address us properly, because as I told you, I have a cousin who's a retired research and development engineer, and he worked with a Kenyan, a Ghanaian, a Nigerian, and Jamaican, and they didn't want anything to do with him, all of them. And so then they tried to get him fired, and so upper management told him that he's been with us for X number. We've never had an issue with him supervising people. So what's the deal with you? And so they didn't want to follow his instructions. And then they was told, well, look, we know his work ethic, and if you can't take instruction from him, then maybe you need to find employment elsewhere. Then they were trying to cozy up to him, but see, it was too late by that point. So we can't afford to go around the world building up other black folks. Charity begins at home. And as Booker T. Washington said, cast your buckets down and feel where you stand. He didn't say travel around the world and go around building up other people who, for the most part, don't want anything to do with you. And that's just being real with you. So we can't we can't just start taking our money, going around the world, helping other people build themselves up, and they, in turn, don't want it, for the most part, don't want anything to do with us. That's more insane than trying to like what Killer Mike said about every black person need one good white friend. No, we need to align ourselves with one another and make sure that we are good. And then for those who choose to, then we can go out and see what we can do with others. Because all these people are looking for, we are their funding source. That's all. They're looking to us as a funding source. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And like you said, Newstoter, they're not trying to allocate any land or anything of that nature. If they're going to come here and live, it's like somebody was telling me that, like that thing with Ghana. They said they have a right to abode. You can't become a citizen, but they got this something about a right to abode. But then you got to have all this money in order to do that.
This is scary.
Hold up. And so my point is that, see, if I don't have an issue trying to work with any black people around the world. I mean, we should be, trying to work with one another, but it cannot be a one-sided situation. We're not going to allow ourselves to be used as a funding source, and then once you get what you need, then you poo-poo on us. No, because I think it was the Fijians in Fiji. They acknowledged that they have an African lineage, but see, they left Africa and they ended up in Fiji because of wars. They couldn't, people couldn't get along with each other. So, so there's something. Africa has a lot to do. Africans have a lot to do themselves before they start trying to leech off of us. Because I can tell you right now, a lot of us, no, we're not. It's like FBA guy has said, we're not buying that. We're just not buying that. And the same thing goes with Killer Mike. That we're not buying this stuff. Yes, elections have consequences, but if we're not going to benefit, see, I always want to blame it on black people not coming out to vote. Black people are not stupid. They see how these people operate. You go to some of these council meetings, the people, they sit up there and look at you as if you're not even there. And some of these people are pouring out their hearts. But they sit up there and look at them. It's like, this is insane. And so if they feel that we should come out and vote in these local elections, then, okay, Atlanta is still a majority black city. But you look at in the areas where the white folks live, they take care of the white areas. Because, see, there was a guy that Nathan Deal appointed as the city of Atlanta school superintendent. And this system is still segregated. And see, they have them broken down in clusters where these children go here, these go there. But what he said, he was in a radio interview, this was years ago, he said, but we're not allowed to mix the clusters. So in other words, segregation still exists. That's how that works. So don't blame the black people for not coming out to vote. Blame the black elected official for not representing the black people and not doing what they could be doing, because if you're the majority in the city, then damn it, act like it. And I'll land with that.
All right. Thank you, Original. I appreciate that, guys. Definitely go ahead and retweet the space out. Also in the Jumbotron on the right-hand side, both of the articles for the night are up in the Jumbotron. If you don't mind, definitely go ahead and retweet those out. We got the article by Killer Mike telling Georgia voters to run to the polls. And we also have the one hit with Kenya targets 300 trillion shillings, Black American tourism. So definitely go ahead and retweet both of those tweets out and retweet the actual space out as well too. Also, for those that have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, that is in the middle of the Jumbotron. Please go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. For my people that's on YouTube, click the notification bell, share out tonight's broadcast, give us a like, leave a comment. It'll definitely be greatly appreciated. For those that can support us on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned Black American news media curation platform today in America. Once again, $Newstoter. If you got $1 that you can donate to the platform, is greatly appreciated. If you do not have Cash App, we have the Venmo and PayPal up in the Jumbotron. Say for my people on YouTube, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. If you guys do not have Cash App, we have the Venmo and PayPal up in the description. Anybody has $1 that they can donate to the platform, it is greatly appreciated. Let me go ahead and get to Black Majority State. Black, how you doing tonight?
Hello, sir. Good evening, Newstoter, FB Goddess, Original. Shout out to Wendell as well. I'm doing good. Cold, frigid, but trying to stay warm out here.
Hey, it's 20-some degrees. We got 20-some degrees here in Florida, so trust me, we feeling it all throughout the nation.
Yeah, that's actually pretty frightening for down there, because I know people are not prepared for that. But yeah, so let me go through your title. Killer Mike runs to the polls. I mean, that's what he's supposed to do. That's kind of what they've been programming us that we're supposed to do. There's really not a whole lot more that we can do, to be quite honest, at this point in our existence here. So, shout out to all the people who are advocating and marching and protesting and talking to people who are elected to try to get legislation through, but we're really on the outside looking in. As far as Kenya, so to what Wendell was talking about, I came up with that. So there is a need for Black Americans to, in fact, control states, to govern states, so that we are no longer on the outside looking in, but we are inside looking in further, deeper into the middle, to the center of American politics. And then, and only then, once we clean up our own house and we get the strength that we need politically, domestically, could we start thinking about foreign issues and foreign nations, and particularly African diaspora nations. When Kenya or any of these sub-Saharan countries say they want you to become a consumer class, they want you to become a tourist class, they essentially want to extract wealth from you, use you as a piggy bank, and then give you nothing in return, but I guess an experience. That is never going to be good enough. They're not offering full citizenship. Much of the things that Wendell talked about require full citizenship. And that requires you to be able to vote, to run for office, to carry firearms, and to own property. The same way they could nationalize whatever industries he mentioned, if you're not a full citizenship and you don't have those rights written into their laws, they could take your property. And they do that often over there. I've seen plenty of videos of our people who have gone to these countries. They think they own property, and someone goes down to the local magistrate and they take them off the property. They pay these people and they put their name on the property. And then our people are left holding bag, essentially. So we can't go into this blindly, naively, using emotions or whatever it is, about some ancestral homeland that, to be perfectly honest, we haven't had any real connection with in a few centuries here. So all things are possible, but it must start at home. And in terms of the whole voting, the whole voting thing, we don't have black majority voting districts. I debunked that in an entire space. They don't exist. It's a figment of our imagination. It is propaganda. And therefore, we are not electing these people. They are, in fact, being elected by majority others, even in the so-called black majority districts. That's at the federal level. Now, if you start looking at local politics, maybe you can have some success there, but they're very limited in what they can do. They don't have the budget to really change a whole hell of a lot. And then they are completely under the power and the authority of the state. So we are on the outside. They are moving others to be closer to the inside, the inner circle. That's where we're at. That's likely where we'll be until we do something that is radically different. Going to Kenya, in my opinion, is not really any difference because it's likely America has military bases in all the places that even in the places Burkina Faso and Mali and other places, we got bases there too. So it's not as if they're out of the grips of American imperialism. So I'll end with that.
All right. Appreciate that, Black. Thank you. Let me go ahead and get to and real quick, Black, because I know when we're talking about the tourism, but they're also, I guess, trying to use the dollars that Black Americans bring over there to build infrastructure, in particular for this new city that they're trying to build as well too. They talk about in 5 years this city will be complete. Now,
okay, so I know Kanye's talking about building a city in some Saudi Arabian country. I think that's just a terrible, terrible, terrible waste of our energy and effort. I certainly wouldn't put any money towards that because for all the same reasons. We won't control it. We won't own it. We won't have a say. We won't be on the board. It'll be very unlikely that we can be elected to be the mayor or whatever their position is over those areas. I'm at the point for me in my life, I think I've always lived like this. If I don't control it and I don't have a say in how it's operated, I just don't put my money into it. I don't invest in it. I think they're making an emotional pitch to people that they think are suckers that will fall for this emotional pitch because maybe they saw some success in Ghana and other places. And if we feed into it, it's really no one's fault but our own. If we keep feeding into and buying these empty dreams, these pipe dreams, where we have no say so in how things are going to be conducted. And even because here's the bigger problem, you need generational control. It can't be a thing where they create a board, 5 years go by and then there's a whole new change in leadership in the country and they simply don't honor any of those agreements. Foreign nations are known for that. They're good for that. At least in America, bad as it is, there are legal ways to deal with certain situations once you get to a certain level. I think in foreign countries, what people find out often is that you really don't have any way to hold people accountable or responsible or adhere to contracts and agreements or anything like that. So I'd be very wary.
All right. Appreciate that, Black. Let me read a comment real quick from Minister Ali. She just posted this. She says, the manufacturing sector in Kenya is diversified in terms of manufacturing activities. Processing of food and other agricultural goods still contributes the largest share of manufacturing GDP followed by textile and garment, and the refining of crude petroleum, respectively. So, Minister Ali just gave a little post talking about the actual manufacturing sector over there in Kenya. Another thing, I think one thing about Kenya that kind of would raise some eyebrows too is that, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't Kenya owe a whole lot of money to the Chinese as well too? I believe the Chinese are responsible for putting airports there and everything else as well too. So I believe that the Chinese have their hands deep in the Kenyans' pockets. If I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna kick it to original, but he's giving me 100. But I'm not sure if they put airports there, and they owe quite a bit to the actual Chinese as well too. I'm not sure if it's Kenya, one of them nations where the damn Chinese and pretty much took over a forest or whatever as as a pavement and stuff. So yeah, not only do, like you say, Black, you have to worry about the foreign bases of the United States still at and still being under colonial rule as well too, but they also now have a new colonial landlord that's there as well too. So you would have to, everything ain't as my grandma would say, peaches and cream. Original, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, Kenya owes China. I think it was Kenya where they had built an airport, the Chinese. And then Kenya defaulted on the loan, so they took the airport. And they've taken other stuff. And let's not forget, it was Kenya, whereby it was a Chinese person that had a restaurant and a club too. But they did not want the locals coming up in the joint. So they're asking us to invest, and they're not even, they are allowing, and see, if we go over there and have a disagreement, they might kill us. That's just being, I'm not being facetious, but that is something that could happen. For example, there was a video that was out, and this guy, it was an FBA brother in Ghana, so he went to some club, and then he said that he was told that he had to buy, I forget how many drinks and this, that, and whatever, and I think he had to you had to buy a table where you could sit at a table or whatever. So he noticed that these white folks over here, they wasn't being instructed to do the same thing that what he was asked to do. And so then he said, well, why aren't they having to buy all this? Well, they're not going to do that. And I'm like, this is insane. This is what, and see, you have some of these Pan-Africans and others, they'll tell us, we're just being, too, whatever, we're just being, we're looking at it, too seriously or whatever, But no, this is what happened. And Black Majority was right. So why are we putting our money into a country that we're not going to be a part of? We're just going all they want from us is funding. We won't have any kind of citizenship, no nothing. And let me say this: what Black Majority said about some of these districts here in America, being majority Black, and he was right, because see, I live in the 5th Congressional District, which is what John Lewis allegedly represented when he was alive. And so now it's this lady, Nakima Williams, she has a job. So she sent out a text message regarding, we was going through redistricting. And so the Republicans they were successful in splitting up this 5th district, which at the time was 58% Black. Okay? Now, Nakima Williams haven't said anything about lineage-based reparations for us. When this whole issue that went through Congress, whereby the Democrats and the Republicans voted for it, and Jim Crow signed it, the Asian hate crime bill. Now, our hate crimes at that time was like over 3,000. Asian hate crime was like within the 700. So who really needed a hate crime bill? She said nothing. She didn't say anything to stand up and defend us, stating that we needed a hate crime bill to defend us as well. She stayed silent, and that's what these people do. They don't represent us. All they want, they want, like I said, you're gonna see some more stuff coming from Killer Mike, and who knows, they may throw T.I. out there as well, because both of them was parading around the city several years ago as if they were these, for lack of a better phrase, these big shots that they don't made it and they got influence and this, that, and whatever. They can, they was hanging with the former mayor Keisha Bottoms, and she only advocated for the gay folks and the illegal aliens, for black folks. And so that's the point, because he needs to be asked himself, how are black people going to benefit from going out here voting? Don't let these folks fool you. Do not allow these people to put you to convince you that you should go out here and vote, and you're not going to get anything for your vote. And I'm gonna land with that.
I want to add. I want to repeat, if I can, about what I.
Hey, Wendell, because the Black Vanguard had his hand up, so definitely.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, just go. Is your hand icon working so we can just know?
Okay. I'm sorry.
Because I know some people was having. If you have an issue with it, some people were having an issue with it the other day, and you couldn't see it. But if you're having an issue with it, just let us know, and then we'll.
Got you. Okay, let's see. Okay. I got it. Okay.
There you go. Let me go ahead and get to the Black Vanguard, and then I'll go ahead and I'll get to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay.
Yeah, but Killer Mike did. He trying to get, a lot of our people is going away from the Democratic Party. So what they doing, they trying to get the prominent black people, basically to try to get black people on the Democratic plantation, but it's not working. We're not listening to these celebrities no more, or the NAACP, the early, all these awards, fraternities. We ain't listening to them no more. So what they doing is that they trying to do everything they do. Then they got the Democratic shields out here on social media. Like the prominent Democratic shield that people don't know about is Nikki Barnes and Nestle Willis. Are y'all familiar with that person? Nikki Barnes and Nestle Willis.
Yeah, I've heard of Nikki Barnes' name before. I don't really know her like that.
And Luke, well, they so-called Democratic shields. She's the head of the DNC out there in Florida. And they bought these Democratic shields. They bring their top Democrats out trying to shame us though for voting for either the other side or not voting at all. At least that's how they get their bread and butter from shaming black society though, because these so-called Democratic shields, they'll do nothing for the masses of black society. See, all the influx of these illegals coming across the border, they're not affected by what's going on because they are getting they $5,000 to $10,000 monthly checks, so they're not affected by what's going on in the working class, middle class black folks. And also is that they also Joe Biden is actually bringing us close to World War III. See, these Democratic shields like Roland Martin, Angela Rye, Tiffany Cross, they already have hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars. They're not going to be affected. If something was to go down, Joe Biden do that national draft, that social draft, they're going to target our people. That means if something go down, they can get out the country real quick within 24 hours though, versus us. We going to be left with that backlash though too. So I would say we should take the Democratic shield seriously. The Nikki Barnes, the Nancy Willis, the Luke's, the Martins, and all these Democratic shields, because when something happens in this country, they can bounce and get up out the country in 24 hours, so what can happen. So I would say we need to don't pay the Democratic shields of mine because they don't care about the rest of black society. They wouldn't sell out the rest of black society just to get a check. That's all I got to say. And in Kenya, though, too, is that I believe one of the reasons why that Kenya trying to get black Americans vets over here too, because they indebted to China. They're trying to pay some of their debt off to China for our money. Because all that money that they go through out guarantee with the year of returns came with Ghana. In 2020, when the pandemic happened, a lot of black Americans lost their business, but Ghana shut the whole country down. Nobody could go in and out of the country during the COVID for like a whole year. So a lot of black folks became homeless out there in Ghana. They lost their businesses out here because they couldn't keep it up though. So Kenya is trying to do the same thing as Ghana do, try to get black Americans vets over there. Once they built their countries up, they will take their wealth back from them though, because Kenya is a corrupt country too.
Kenya has about 70% poverty rate. Like I said, all the people ain't gonna benefit from it though. And you got at the top, you got Kenyan organizations in New York and Minneapolis, Minnesota. They don't reach out to Black Americans though. So I believe this is nothing but a scam, just like the right to vote. And Kenya is not offering Black Americans those censorship. Same thing in Ghana. So it's a scam. I would say our people should go for that.
All right, appreciate that, guys. Like I say, for those that can support us on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter, any amount is appreciative. If you got $1, you can donate to the platform. It is greatly appreciated. Once again, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. I want to go ahead and get to a window. Anybody else that wants to speak as well, too, guys, come on up here.
I want to thank you for having this this space. Is very critical and very important at this time. But I want to repeat what I said yesterday and earlier, is that if any presidential candidate does not have on their platform to do immediate reparations, and I said the number is 7.4 billion to each lineage descendant of former African American slave, 7.4 million total. 3.9 million comes from the federal government, 3.5 million comes from the state. My state would be Tennessee, which is my great ancestor, my great grandfather A.N.C. Williams. He was enslaved, born in 1844, got out of slavery the year before the Civil War. The state of Tennessee should be compensating $3.5 million to me and my brothers and sisters. The city of Franklin should be paying $750,000. So I come up with a figure, which the other economists have come up with, is $7.4 million total to each descendant of formerly enslaved lineage-based freedmen. That's the figure I said yesterday. That's the figure I repeated again. If the Biden or the Trump administration, if they don't have that on their platform, I'm not running to the polls to vote. Voting for what? I'm 62 years old. I'm going to vote to see some Black person in office in D.C.? No. They need to cut the check. And as you know, yesterday, the group, the Attorney General that they convened that 2-year thing, 3121, they have a formula, okay? And so that formula can apply, but also they're saying that they need to be having reparations for the housing, criminal, the educational issues that occurred after the Civil War. So it's actually 2 or 3 parts and continued reparations. So if that's not on the presidential platform of any candidate, I don't need to be running to the polls for that. Now, in reference to the second issue, which is very, very focused, is about Blacks living in America. And I'm going to give some dates and get off. Rosewood, 1923. St. Bernard Parish, 1868. New Orleans, 1866. Thibodeau, 1887. Opolos, 1868. Colfax, 1873. Slocum, 1910. Vicksburg, 1874. Tulsa, 1921. Elaine, 1919. Clinton, 1875. Memphis, 1866. East St. Louis, 1917. Springfield, 1908. Chicago, 1919. Detroit, 1943. New York, 1863. Washington, 1919. Philadelphia, 1985. Wilmington, Delaware, 1898. Atlanta, 1906. Memphis, 1866. Elaine, 1919. Clinton, 1875. St. Bernard Parish, 1868. New Orleans, 1866. Rosewood, 1923. Ocola, 1920. Camilla, 1863. Efula, 1874. Charleston, 2015. Atlanta, 1906, and I already mentioned Wilmington, 18. Those are issues, towns in which there was a Black massacre. Those people had built wealth, and it was destroyed by white people in attack. How many white people were charged or indicted or served sentences for that? So what my point is, we are always behind enemy lines in America. So when you talk about generational protection in the law, there was no law. Can somebody tell me how many whites were charged for terrorizing Blacks in Tulsa or Chicago, East St. Louis? So I guess my point is this. We talk about the legal system and contracts and legal obligation. Where was their justice? There's over 100 massacres. So I just rest on that other point, that we are still behind enemy lines. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Wendell. So what you're saying is basically, and I got what Black was saying in terms of, because I think Black was saying in terms of when a government changes or whatever, then you never know the actual outcome. And we know sometimes over there in some of the African nations, how these government change, how they change and just everything just completely it's one thing over in the United States when you have a Democrat or Republican come into office, they lose or their term is up or whatever. In the government, you still have that continuity, and it pretty much still stays the same as compared to over there where we've seen coups and we've seen everything else happen, and just has been such an upheaval that sometimes you really just don't know about the continuity of what's going on. I get what you're saying too about hey, all of these townships that were burnt down here in America, thriving townships that Black people had, and nothing ever happened to the people that actually burnt them down. So I would say this right here, and I said this earlier as well too. And one thing too, I think people think about is that sometimes, and we've heard stories about it. People get land over there, and then the land still doesn't really belong to them. It belongs to a tribal chief, and it belongs to this person. That you may have a lease for a certain period of time or whatever, but it's truly never completely your land. So I think that's a big issue as well that people worry about. That hey, this land isn't just solely my land. I have to worry about I have to worry about other people, it being passed along and this and that. People don't know. You don't have the records that you have over here, because sometimes people think they're buying land, they actually really don't actually own the land. I don't have an issue, with doing, and I think we do as a people need to become, in terms of having global economies. I think because we're in a time now where everything is global, so I don't have an issue with us, making money globally. I think that's an effective way of doing things, but at the same time, you do want to have citizenship, or at least have the ability to have citizenship. You also want to make sure that, hey, that you're in a country that's pretty steady. We know over there with some of the issues going on with some of the, especially over there in East Africa and in the Horn of Africa, some of the actual military conflicts that they have going on and stuff like that. You want to make sure that you're in a stabilized region as well, too. You don't want to go ahead and invest in something and all of a sudden, your investment turns into crap because of the actual government and the warring tribes and this and that and everything else that's going on. So I know that's not totally the case all the time, but you just want to make sure that, hey, you do have that security in terms of protecting your interests over there as well, too. I go back to what I said before. We seen it. We saw it throughout history over here in this country, where you had a bunch of peasants that left Europe that came over here and got land for nothing. Dirt poor people came over here and were given land. So we talk about, and they're promoting this as a journey back to the Garden of Eden. It's supposed to be, heaven on earth. This is where the original man comes from. They're saying this is your culture, Black man. So my thing is right here. If you're going to cut out a little piece of Eden for Black people, then go ahead and cut it out for free. Give some fertile land, some land that we can build on and we can do stuff. And you have enough Black people over here with know-how that I think they could go over there and create, and it would be beneficial for both people. Now, I understand that this is the government, and I understand that, hey, Kenya has their share of infrastructure problems and everything else going on that, is probably too vast to list. But at the same time, people, and I think Original pointed out earlier, people look at Black Americans' income and they compare it to the rest of the people's income throughout the world, especially Black people, other Black people. Because the first thing you'll get from white people in this country that's racist is well, y'all living better over here than the rest of the Black people in the world. We're living better over here because, for one, we built the country. We're the reason for the country having all the wealth that it has. So yeah, this is the richest country probably in the history of the world. And a big part of that is because of what we contributed to this actual country. So it's not like this country just took in some orphans and out of the kindness of their heart, they took care of us and gave us money and looked after us. And, it is what it is. No, that's nonsense. We created the actual wealth in this actual land. There would be no wealth if it was not for us. So this whole thing, people look at that, and other Black people look at it too. And they say, you know what, those Black Americans, they not only look at the actual wealth that you have compared to other Black people, they look at the actual influence, because your influence is almost on par with your wealth. Let's be honest. The influence that you have and the way people take notes, when people think about Black people, they generally think about Black Americans first and foremost. So they're looking at the actual dollars that Black Americans have in this country, and the actual global influence that they have. If we can get Black Americans to come over here and invest and spend money and create infrastructure and to create thriving cities and stuff like that, well, we can get other Black people throughout the diaspora with no problem to come over here and live. They'll be knocking down the wall to come over here because it'll be already set up, and these people, they've already shown that they can do it. So I don't have an issue with partnerships with people, with partnerships with countries and everything else like that. It has to be an even partnership, though. And people forget that even though Black Americans may make more money and have a higher standard of living or whatever compared to other Black people in the world, let's not forget that we're in one of the most expensive countries in the world. And most Black people, even though they make X amount of dollars, are still living paycheck to paycheck. A lot of Black people can't just afford to jump up and invest money in a foreign government. A lot of Black people in this country can't afford to invest money in the stock market in this country right now and invest in real estate and things of that nature. So to go 5,000-6,000 miles to go to a land that you don't know about, to go dealing with cultures and everything, governments that you know nothing about, and to take your hard-earned money and invest in it, shout out to those that's willing to do that, that's willing to roll the dice and say, you know what, I think I can do this. But a lot of those people, they're saying that they're looking for the Black middle class, and we know the middle class is constantly changing in terms of the dollar amount in this country. The middle class, almost now to be middle class, you almost got to be making $100,000 a year. The days of making $50,000-$60,000, and you were middle class, slowly fading. You may be working class, but I don't know about being middle class. So, to go ahead and take your hard-earned dollars and to go ahead and invest and, perhaps even life savings and say, you know what, I'm going to invest into a nation I know nothing about and try to help build an infrastructure and try to do this and do that or whatever without, really knowing about it, is a risky proposition for a lot of people, not only Black people, but anybody. Like I say, we really don't know anything about a lot of the nations because most of us, and there's some people in this space that have traveled and have been to Africa, but the vast majority of Black Americans haven't been to Africa and don't really know the culture like that as well too. So like I'm saying, if the governments are really interested in building that bond, first you think they would look at and I know they want to bring the tourism dollars, but if you're trying to build infrastructure and everything else, then you may want to actually go start hollering at the actual Black professional class or Black business class, the people that actually have the funds and stuff like that, that could partner up in terms of doing infrastructure work and everything else like that, as long as there's a reasonable deal to be cut for them as well too. It has to be beneficial. It can't just be like, well, within the next year, we want y'all to come over here and spend $1 billion and we'll do you can do certain ceremonies and African custom and rituals and stuff like that. And you'll be connecting back to your native culture and stuff like that. It has to be deeper and it has to be more rich in that. And it has to be worth the actual risk that people are going to take their actual hard-earned money and invest and spend in. So that's my thing, that, hey, I don't have an issue because we see these global corporations investing all over the world. You got corporations from all over the world coming to the United States, buying up land, creating businesses and everything else. They're doing it all over the world, in Asia and Europe and Africa. So I would actually like to see a global Black corporation founded, based here in the United States, go over the world the same way these other people go and make money and put a model of how you can actually go about doing this as well too. But like I said, there are so many unknowns into foreign investment. There are so many unknowns into investment, period. But especially when you're talking about foreign investment, that you just really don't know. And like I say, I feel like the pot could be a lot sweeter on their end because you have a mass amount of land, and you got people over here that know how to cultivate the land and to build and everything else that have the resources to do it. So I think that truly the same way, like I say, peasants from Europe came over here and got land for peanuts on peanuts for cents on the dollars, and some of them got it for just totally cheap for free. If you're and we always get so like, come back home, this is your roots, this is your link, this is this is that. Then if it's really your home, if it's really your culture, it's really your heritage, it's really your homeland, then go ahead and carve out land and carve out certain regions and stuff for people, Black Americans, Black people in the diaspora, whether the Caribbean, South America, to come back over there to go ahead and get land where they can go ahead and build and create and trade and do all the other stuff that they say. But until you get to that point where, because it's always like it's a decent amount of money that they're trying to look to make off of Black Americans when they come there. If Black Americans you want them to come and spend almost $2 billion, then what is it for them? What's in it for them as well too? So that's my main thing, Wendell. And shout out real quick. Let me give a shout out to Mary. Mary, thank you for your contribution on Cash App. But Wendell, I don't know if you wanted to respond to that. I see DJ's over here as well too. So shout out to DJ. Black Majority States got his hand up. So go ahead, Black. You got it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Wendell.
You're 100% right in terms of taking risks. You're 100% right in terms of partnerships and in terms of investments. Because anytime you make an investment, there's a risk. So even anything you do, real estate, when you're investing in stocks, bonds, there's a risk. But to your point, to my point originally, though, I'm saying going back to your agenda. Your agenda item was Killer Mike runs to the polls. My whole thought, and I'm repeating it, is that I'm 62 years old. I'm only running to the polls if Biden or Trump got on their platform that they're going to cut a check in the first 30 days to lineage-based descendants of slaves. And I said mine is A.N.C. Williams, was born in Franklin, Tennessee. He died in 1930. There's a plaque downtown Franklin for him. There's a street named after A.N.C. Williams. He's notarized by the Williamson County Historical Society. My lineage is traced to him. He's a slave. His mother was 15 years old when she was raped. I mean, she had sex, with the white master. So I got that. I can trace that. And so I'm saying that unless Trump or Biden have that on their platform and their agenda, I'm not running to the polls. So that's part of your initial agenda item, your topic of discussion, running to the polls. I'm not running to the polls unless there's a check going to be cut, direct deposit in gold certificates also. Don't pay me in dollars. Pay me in gold or gold certificates, because the dollar's being devalued. And also the BRICS, as you know, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and South Africa, they're trying to create their own currency. So, that's an issue in itself, to the dollar, okay? Because they don't want to trade in the dollar. So I guess my point is cut the check. If it's not on the platform for Biden and Harris or for Trump or whoever's going to be in the White House, I'm not running to the polls. Bottom line, if they don't have it on their agenda to cut the check, direct them to send to me gold certificates of bars, I'm not running to the polls. I've been running to the polls for how many years? For what? I don't get anything. As a brother already mentioned about, they acknowledge these other groups. I don't even need to name them. They acknowledge them. They cater to them. And what are we doing? We always pushed under the bus. But I also go back to what I said in my second part of what I said earlier. There have been over 100 massacres. So any land that we own, it ultimately, unfortunately, that when we Tulsa or Chicago, Detroit, when Eisenhower built the expressways, the freeways, they were created, Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago. The freeways created were to destroy the black towns. So there is no stability to us. Wherever we try to create a Mecca, they will always find a way. So we have to always think ahead. So the bottom line is that we're still behind enemy lines here, unfortunately. But the risk is here also. You look at the medical, the history of blacks and cancer and diabetes and all, and a lot of us don't have health care. And you're right, to your point, a lot of us live with paycheck to paycheck. You're absolutely right. African Americans, the wealth issue, the average white person has a wealth of $120,000 based on their house. The average black family has about $10,000, $10,000 in wealth. So that's average. So that's the Federal Deposit Insurance Company's 2021 numbers on wealth of stocks, bonds, housing, real estate, pensions, and all. So we're $120,000 for a white family, $10,000 for us. So the bottom line is that you're right. We have to draw down our buckets here, but we have to always remember that there will always be groups that want to take over what we built. So I'm saying yes, but in terms of the diaspora, the Pan-African thing, there's going to be risk anywhere. But you're right. We should have African-American companies that are able to either build infrastructure, but actually able to have return on equity, build electric cars, build farms and all the other things that can make money, whether it's solar panels or whatever have you. We should be doing that also, doing it here. But to your point, though, lay down your bucket here. But in terms of the Biden, Harris, or Trump, whatever have you, if it's not in their platform to cut the check, what am I running to vote for? So I asked that question. Thank you.
And I'm with you on that. I mean, I'm not running to vote. I did vote in the last election, but I didn't vote for Biden or Trump. So first off, I'm not running to vote to any. It's nobody that's out there running to me to that point that I got to run to the polls and vote for them. And I'm in agreement with a lot of what you said as well too. Like I said, you're right. Investment is a crapshoot a lot of times. So the better you're prepared, the more well educated, the better off you can be. But nothing is 100% certain, especially when you're talking about investing money into something as well too. But like I said, I don't have an issue. I like to see blacks in terms of in terms of the global world, become more of a player. I think that would be better served for us for that. But at the same time, like I say, we have to have a partner, and we have to have somebody that that's willing to go in with us. And I just haven't seen that. I've seen countries and stuff like that. And here's the thing, a lot of these countries are trying to modernize themselves for the 21st century. But like I said, if they were truly looking for a partner, I think they would really reach out to black people a little bit more than what they are, not just in terms of tourism or even talk about terms of building a city. If they were really about it, we'll see. We'll keep our eye on this as well too. Because I actually have a space for tomorrow night that I'm thinking about doing. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do a space tomorrow night, but it centers around what we're actually talking about right now as well too, with this Kenya situation as well too. So I may hold off and do that space tomorrow, or I may do it tomorrow. I may just wait to next week. I'm gonna see. Let me give a shout out real quick to 400. 400, thank you for your contribution on Cash App as well too. Let me go ahead and DJ, I see you up in the spot as well too. What's up? You over here? Are you in between YouTube? Okay, DJ.
Family, I'm up here. Peace to the room. Newstoter was good.
What's up? FBA Goddess, you got anything you want to say before I go ahead and give it to Black Majority State? I know you said something earlier, but you've been a little bit quiet. 1865 Black said that and when I was saying that I believe that the airport that the Chinese had built the airport for Kenya, I believe 1865 said the tweet that it was an actual they built their railroad system, the first railroad system there. So like I say, that's another thing. How many, you come over to some of these countries and they're talking about investing in this and that or whatever, but I mean, are the actual people in these countries, the black people, because we always said, this is a black nation, but are the people, the actual leaders, just to get the damn middlemen for the people that's really running the show as well, too? Let me go ahead and get to Black Majority State. Black, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for allowing me to speak. So I just, I did a quick little thing on Kenya. It appears that in 2010, their public debt stood at 37% of GDP. By 2021, it stood at 68% of GDP. So they're drowning in debt. The other thing I looked at said they were at about $78 billion in debt, and then by 2028 there will be over $108 billion in debt. So their debt cycle is increasing, and that's a problem, of course. But this is something that I found on what appears to be like a real estate document or a company in jagaadvocates.co.ke. And so, it says that you have, if you're a foreign national, and they do call you foreign nationals, you cannot own property, but you can lease the property for up to 99 years. They have all these different, vehicles that you can utilize to own property or at least lease the property. But this was a Supreme Court ruling that came out here in 2021. It says the Supreme Court of Kenya has elevated the bar on due diligence on land transactions by saying that a normal search on the land registry is incomplete and does not guarantee a valid title. The purchaser must investigate the history of the title to know if the title was legally or illegally acquired. And that simply says to me that they know that there is this very corrupt and illegal activity occurring in the real estate market, and they're telling you that it's on you. You got to figure out if the title that you see is legal or not, even if you're dealing with the courts or you're dealing with the local, government. It's on you as the buyer. So that to me is like massive red flags, ringing all types of bells and alarms. For me personally, I just wouldn't get involved in it. But, it is what it is.
All right. Thank you, Black. Let me go ahead and get to DJ. What's up, DJ? DJ, you there? You stuck in the matrix?
I'm here. My bad. Mic check 1 2 1 2, y'all. Now everybody's saying the correct things. Shout out to the room or whatever the case be. Shout out to you, FBA Goddess, Black Majority Original. Everybody up in here. Wendell was good. Everybody, Newstoter. Make sure y'all subscribe. Newstoter. Fund the social. So everybody's saying the right thing. Y'all don't need me to speak on it. But the thing about Killer Mike though is, he was a Bernie supporter. Was asking us to go vote for Bernie, but Bernie was, so-called freedom fighter. But you telling the same person that you was backing up Martin Luther King, was happy belated birthday, sir. You know what I'm saying? That his people don't deserve reparations. Or what does reparations look like? That's what he said. What is that? Specifically, that's what Bernie Sanders said. What is that? And you still turning around trying to tell us to go vote for this old cracker knocker? Hell no. You know what I'm saying? So don't come and tell us to come run to anything unless we're running for reparations, man. And the story of that, Kenya wants 1.8 billion. Hey, man, I think the best thing for the African homies to do is, instead of saying, hey, look, we want tourism over here, we want other black folks from around the world, the diaspora, to come over and invest in us. Instead of saying that, why don't you just say, hey, everybody come on over here and we'll work it out. You know what I'm saying? We got something, we got the land. If you got an idea, we'll work it out. You know what I mean? Because we ain't got to live there or even go over there to start producing money and wealth, because y'all got the land, but y'all don't know how to monetize your own issue. So that go back to what someone else was saying. I think, I guess that was you, FBA Goddess. Why can't you just build your own? Build it yourself. Why can't you just build it yourself? You know what I mean? If we did it over here and folks in the Caribbean built up their shit, and whatever folks that went from west back to east to the UK, they built up that shit. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my French, you could do the same thing, yo. So it's like, we'll be there to help, I guess, and on the back end, you know what I mean? But you got to at least start it yourself. Hey, if you build it, they will come. But at the end of the day, we're in an election year. We'll see you next year on that, Ken. You know what I mean? We got to worry about ourselves right now. So, hey, look, but Biden, he ain't doing nothing for us. Trump ain't never did nothing for us. Yeah, you might have said you was going to meet with Ice Cube and all this other stuff, but that don't mean anything. You know what I mean? And now Vivek Salami, he done seceded to his race. Now Trump letting him rock up on the stage. Now get that cracker knock up out of here too, yo. Indian tether knock, you know what I mean? Drinking out the Ganges River, you know what I'm saying? Trump was talking about your country too when he said it's your country, yo. So with that being said, everybody said something fire. Now you right there.
All right, appreciate it. FBA Goddess, did you have something? Let me give a shout out to some of our people up in the space too. I see Black delegation up in here. I see No Taxation, That Negro. See Rella, Leon, Stephanie, a bunch of y'all. Ray, of course, I saw Ray. I see my man Rock Roll up in here too. Shout out to him. Diane, Carlos, 400, all y'all up in the space and whatnot, man. So shout out to everybody that's up in the space tonight. We definitely appreciate you guys coming through. Definitely, if you guys got something you want to say, because y'all know we ain't gonna keep it going on too much longer. Last night we kind of went a little over 3 hours or whatever. 2 hours normally be enough for me, but sometimes we will go over the 2 hour mark if the conversation is interesting in everything else. But like I say, normally 2 hours is a sweet spot for me. That's normally good enough. But any of our people that want to come up here and share their thoughts on tonight's space and the topics, feel free to come on up here while the space is still going. Because like I say, we're not going to be going too much longer in here. We'll let people come up here that want to speak, say what they got to say. But I feel like pretty much like DJ say, everybody's pretty much been covering the points. And Wendell and my man Wendell made some very good points as well too. So I say, there's a lot of what Wendell said I agree with as well too. Like I say, and there's just certain things that in terms of that investing overseas and stuff like that, I'm a little hesitant on, because we haven't had the cooperation that we're supposed to have, and it always seems like, for me, it's always about us. Like Janet Jackson say, what have you done for me lately type thing. It's always about what can we do in terms of boosting the money and everything else like that or whatever. And DJ made a great point that, hey, you guys got an abundance of land. If you really want to get this thing moving, all you gotta do is say, hey, y'all come on over here, and don't say come on over here, we'll work it out, but at least say come on over here, and this is what we'll do. We'll go ahead and we'll give you this, and we'll do that. We need we need skilled people from over there in America to go ahead and help build roads and sewer plants and power plants and get our get grocery stores and everything else and get everything running, the infrastructure that we need to compete in the 21st century. And we have no problem giving you guys land and stuff like that. Land that is not for a 99-year lease, but land that belongs solely to you. Land that the Chinese does not own. Land that the Indians don't own. Land that the white folks don't own. But land that you exclusively own. But like I said, you don't really hear that. So there's hesitance. And when they do talk about coming over here, then hey, people, you got to have a background check. You got to have about 60, 70 grand up in your bank account. I'm just exaggerating, but I've heard stories. You got to have a pretty penny if you want to go over there and do something. So, shout out to everybody. Like I say, once again, shout out to Rock Rollins, shout out to Cognitive too for their contributions on Cash App. I see my girl Stephanie's up here. Let me get to Stephanie, because I know Stephanie, you be working. So get you up here right now. But what's up, Stephanie?
Salute to you. Salute to the chat. Mr. Man. Adrian, original. Shout out to the whole entire chat room. I mean, Andrea, I'm so sorry, Miss Goddess. First off, with Killer Mike, we definitely got to stop listening to these celebrities. They don't speak for us. They're not our voice. All they do is entertain. We pay for their CDs. We buy their T-shirts. We buy the outfits that sometimes we like to see them in and stuff like that. They don't overall have our backs. Okay, they're only saying stuff just because they're being paid to say it, just to coax us into what they want us to coax us into. It's another booby trap. Far as going to Kenya, I remember a couple of years ago there was a video that surfaced that it resurfaces every now and then, and they asked this Kenyan guy, do they think we should have Black Americans back in Kenya? And he said, they're not our brothers. They're not our brothers. We don't want them back. We don't need them back. Okay? We can do everything on our own. Okay? Now, this is coming from one person. Now, if it's coming from that one person, just imagine how the other ones feel. Okay? Now, as far as the land leasing go, there was a situation, and I'm not trying to compare the two countries, but there's always that what if factor, like Black Majority said. What if I took my hard-earned money and leased property over there for like 40 years? And about not even a year later, I had a beautiful home built up there. I had farming. I had everything that I need that I could sustain myself with. And someone comes in with a bulldozer and start bulldozing my house down with all my things in there and telling me that the land is seized by the chief of that area. That's happened a few times in Ghana. So, like I said, I'm not trying to compare the two because they're two different states or two different countries. What if that same thing applies over there? Now, from what I understand, the guy that owns Puma, he owns thousands upon thousands of hectares of land in Kenya, and as well as a lot of other people. And then you got the Indians that's running rampant in that country. They own communities that Black people can't even go in, that the citizens of Kenya can't even go into. So I'm trying to figure out How is it that when it comes to us, everybody has to call us for everything, but when we need help and we're struggling, no one's there to help us? And on top of that, how is it that we have to put our issues to the side just to focus on everybody else? And this is what people are accustomed to. So this is why everybody feel the need that whenever something happens, they can call on the African Americans, because the African Americans are going to always respond. And we have a lot of issues here. Our communities are bleeding money. We're being gentrified straight to hell. Okay? They're pushing drugs back into our community, the fentanyl, and they're trying to push the opioids in our communities. And we just have a lot of things that we have to deal with. Land laws, deaths. The love of my life just died. It's almost a year coming up because they turned him down for a transplant, and he died 2 weeks later. So there's a lot of things that we're dealing with. And, you know, it just bothers me to my core that every time something happens, we have to put on the capes and just keep running. I say we have to be selfish for once, and we have to focus on ourselves and on our communities. We can have love for our brothers and sisters across the ocean, but we have to focus on ourselves first. We have to heal ourselves first in order for us to help ourselves and rebuild, and then we can possibly help other people. You know what I'm saying? But that's all I got for right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie, and I'm sorry about your loss as well too. Definitely sorry to hear about that. I can't argue with much of what you said either. FBA Goddess, you had your hand up. Did you want to say something? See, you there, FBA Goddess? FBA Goddess could either be taking a phone call or she could be in the Matrix as well too. So I'm not sure if she's still there. Let me try one more time. FBA Goddess, are you there? Yeah, I think she must be up in the actual either on the phone or caught up in the Matrix. Stephanie, you're right. I think a lot of people they look at black people, like I said before, they look at the income and they look at the actual influence that black Americans have, and they think especially when you start hearing about it, because when you think about when they start talking about the tourism and they start putting these things together like they did with Ghana and like they're doing now with this Kenya thing, talking about the journey back to Eden, they're not just really targeting a whole bunch of other groups in the diaspora. They're trying to target Black Americans. They feel like Black Americans have a big population and that they're the most influential and have the most money out of all the other Black groups in the world. So let's go ahead and let's get them. And then, like I say, as a residual, you'll get other Black people throughout the world and stuff as well that'll come as well too. So I think that's pretty much what it is. Like I said, it's not all about tourism that Kenya's trying to do either. Kenya's trying to use it started off talking about tourism, but they're also trying to use Black people to go over there and help build up cities and stuff as well too, and provide the infrastructure as well too. They want you to bring your checkbook and to go ahead and help try to get these modern cities, as they say, with all the amenities built up and stuff as well too. They're trying to I'm sure they're trying to make some of these and Kenya trying to modernize and make some of these cities look almost Western as well too. So that's the goal as well too. It's like, hey, let's go ahead and we want them to come over here and visit with tourism and spend money and eat at the restaurants and stay at the hotels. But we also want them to come here and to create and to build and to spend a good amount of capital helping us get our infrastructure in place as well too. So that's something that you can't really look over right there, because that's a big thing. That they got the tourism and they're talking about connecting with your culture and this and that, even though we know for the most part, and of course we know there's exceptions, but for the most part, Black people, there's more of a kinship, I guess, with West Africa than there would be with East Africa, just because of the transatlantic slave trade and everything else as well too, as compared to East Africa. So I think that's a little bit different. But like I said, give them credit for putting in the journey back to the Garden of Eden. That was a nice little promo they put in there. Nice little promo for especially for our people that's religious and Christians and everything else as well too, because a lot of people feel like the actual Garden of Eden came from over there in Kenya and in that area as well too, East Africa. So, give them their due on that. Give them their due on that. Is there anybody else real quick that would like to add anything to the conversation tonight? Because I don't know if FBA Goddess, she must have, like I said, FBA Goddess must have got stuck in the matrix because she had her hand up, but then she disappeared. Anybody else got anything they want to add real quick? DJ, go ahead, Wendell.
I just want to thank you again for having this space. It's very important that we get together, that we speak to each other with respect and integrity, and that we come together with an agenda, a purpose. And I'm glad that you try and lead with your agenda and you try and stay with your points and also we stay focused. And I'm just very proud that we're able to move forward. But more importantly, I just hope that we can lead with productivity. And the way that we do with that is that when it comes time to election, we continue to ask Biden's people or Trump's people, what have you, why are we voting? Why am I going to the polls to vote for what? If I'm not voting to cut the check directly, for the gold certificates of $7.4 billion to my black brothers and sisters, the descendants of slaves, lineage-based slaves, what am I voting for? So that's my question. And I would ask that to Kamala Harris or Biden or Trump, whoever wants to sit in the White House, cut the check, cut the gold certificates, cut it. And if that's not part of your platform, you have nothing to say to me. I'm sorry, I don't want to hear it. That's all.
Well, I'll say this right here, Wendell. This crowd in here, they're definitely about that. So they definitely they're not. I don't think many of them in here are just going to go ahead and just cast a vote away. They definitely want to know what they're voting for and what they're getting in return and what you're going to do for their people as well too. So I think the days of just being born a Democrat for a lot of people are pretty much over with. And that's not to say people won't vote for a Democrat candidate, but they want to know what that Democrat candidate has to offer black people as well too. So just simply, I'm going to vote for you because I'm black and you're a Democrat. I think you got a lot of black people kind of waking up from that and kind of leaving that alone and say, hey, you know what? I'm even to the point now that I'll vote beyond just a party. I'll vote just basically for the actual candidate themselves, whether it's an independent, a Democrat, or Republican. As long as this person is talking about something that I can relate to, something that's going to be beneficial to me, something that this person is telling me what they're going to do before they actually get in office as well too, because a lot of times we've been told that, hey, wait till so-and-so gets in office and then they can do something for you. Oh, when so-and-so gets in office, so-and-so don't have any time for you. So so-and-so's not studying you now. You can see after 3-4 years of somebody being in office, they just completely neglect you. And then when it comes a year to 6 months before an election, then all of a sudden they start throwing up these little tidbits trying to get your attention and trying to show you what they've done for you and what they're going to do for you and this and that, while at the same time not telling you a thing whatsoever what they're going to do. So now, like I say, we had the space last night with Jamal Bowman, and he's talking about $14 trillion reparation because they're hearing that from people like Sandy Darity. They're hearing the amount that they're talking about. So now people are going back into their party, saying, well, they're talking about $14 trillion. Like apparently $14 trillion is what they're talking about with reparations. Well, go ahead and talk about $14 trillion for reparations as well to talk about it. So you have that going on as well too. And I'll give you this, window. You stick on that gold standard. You talk about that gold standard. I guess you're saying that the dollars, you're not yet, reparations come out that you're not trying to get that money back in actual dollars, which I think is an interesting conversation. We know how gold fluctuates, goes up and down, but it always eventually will come back to the price and whatnot. But you stick on that gold standard. I see that. So shout out to you on that as well. All right.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that because, as you know, as I mentioned before, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they're trying to move either to the Chinese yuan or they're trying to move to the Indian currency. But bottom line is that Africa's got all the resources. Supply is kept. Africa should have the world currency, which is another discussion for you. You keep that shit, the African currency, based on the fact that most of the gold, the diamonds, and the minerals are in Africa. What Gaddafi wanted was to print his own currency, and the French was presenting. That's another topic for you, sir. Is why are the French printing 6 to 8 of the African countries' currency? Why can't the African countries print their own currency? Because when the French printed, they asked for 10 to 15% of whatever they're printing to be in gold reserves. So they're expropriating that wealth. So that's another topic for you, sir, is why can't African countries print their own currency?
Well, I mean, they can't print it because they're still under neo-colonial rule. So, I mean, until they get the thumb from on top of them, then they're not going to be printing anything. So that's pretty much what it is. Until they can actually go ahead and do what they need to do over there, they're going to constantly still be under European rule, and looks like they're going to be under Asian rule as well too. Pretty soon, they're about to that point as well too. I see we got Rock Roller up here. Rock Roller, what's going on with you tonight? How you doing?
I'm doing good, bro. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
I just came up to say this about the Democrats, man. Let's not forget that it was Barack Obama that took out Gaddafi. And if y'all don't remember, it was Gaddafi who was trying to unite the whole African continent, all those countries, and come up with their own currency. And he was taken out by no other than Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, bro. So the Democrats ain't nothing but fucking frauds, bro. And I'm gonna land right there.
All right, Rock Roller. Appreciate it. Even though you got the F-bomb in there, but appreciate you still. But yeah, they.
I will interrupt quickly that American foreign policy since Eisenhower, when they took out Patrice Lumumba in the Congo when he was elected, they executed Patrice Lumumba with the Belgians. The bottom line is the United States foreign policy towards Africa, we've always been on the wrong side of history. So to that brother, speaking about, he's absolutely right. We're always on the wrong. We're always on the side of colonialism, settler development, colonialism. And Barack Obama, when the French called Hillary Clinton did not answer the phone. That was the goal of the green light to take out Gaddafi. And so so Gaddafi was on the right path. He had education and healthcare. He had housing. So Gaddafi was on the right path, and they took him out because he, as you said, he was not supporting colonialism, white supremacy. So to my brother, he's absolutely correct. Barack Obama did do it. It was on Barack Obama's watch that they bombed Africa. That's correct. He's right. Yes.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we know. Yeah, Obama was the actual president when that went down as well too. And I know everybody, they mentioned that with Obama, and they were saying that Gaddafi was trying to get the African nations united and get them on a gold standard, and that was one of the main reasons he was actually taken out as well too. So yeah, we definitely know what happened on that situation as well too. So shout out to Rock Roller for coming up, mentioning that. And shout out to you as well tonight, Wendell, as well too, guys. I guess that's as good as any note to go ahead and end this space for tonight, guys. I'm not sure if we'll be back tomorrow, but we may. If not, then we'll do a space on Monday, but we may hold one tomorrow night, guys. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who came into the space tonight. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for everybody sharing the space, speaking as well too. Thank you for all those who contributed on Cash App. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a good night. Peace.
Be safe, man.